Hello and welcome to another episode of All Elite Arcade. It's episode 30. Can you believe it, Chugs?
The big 3-0, baby.
The big 3-0. We've already done 30
you
weeks of this thing. That's more than half of the year, and we're chugging along. We're doing great. We're doing. I will say this. A big part of my week is anticipating the mornings where we finally get to record this.
Yes.
I take little notes about the video games that I play. I get very excited for it, and this week is no different. Before we get started, we'd like to actually introduce our title sponsor. That's why we'd like to thank Upper Deck for sponsoring our podcast, our very first sponsor. Thank you for Upper Deck for being along the journey with us. Very, very appreciated. But I think everyone wants to know what video games we've been playing. And I know, Chugs, you've been right back at it with your 5-game cycle.
Holy cow. And Uno, I'm going to be honest. This past week, was a very busy week for me. I mean, I finally, I know we keep it video game related, but I finally returned to the ring this week.
Yes, a big week for you.
Yeah, and so I was a little concerned thinking, oh my God, I hope I'm able to play as many games as I would like to. And Uno, it was like the perfect week. I got to return to the ring and play like the most video games I've played in weeks. It was awesome. So like you had mentioned, I did return to the 5-game cycle, but before I get started, actually, there is a game I wanted to talk about that I've said before is one of, if not my favorite game of all time, or one of the most important video games to me in the entire world, that being Halo 5 Guardians.
Yes.
So I have a little tradition. Every time around this time of year, I always go back and I play a little Halo 5 Guardians because, again, it's really the game in my adult life in 2015 when I really became super, super passionate and obsessed with video games thanks to that game. So I always fire Halo 5 Guardians up. And Uno, you wouldn't believe it. Again, Halo 5 Guardians, specifically the Warzone mode, is still very active, which made me so happy. I was so afraid I was going to log on to the Halo 5 Guardians servers and it would take forever to get a match, or I wouldn't be able to get a match. And I jumped right back into, again, is probably my favorite multiplayer mode in the Halo franchise, period, is the Halo 5 Warzone firefight games. It's such a good time. So like I said, I get to play a few of those games to this day with the rec system and the movement and just overall the different boss fights that you go through. Halo 5 Warzone firefight is one of my favorite modes, so I got to enjoy a couple of matches of that. But that was just off stream. And speaking of off stream as well, while I was traveling this week, I got to play some more Nine Souls, which I know we had talked about before.
Yes, that's the 2D roguelike game that's very parry heavy, correct?
Or Metroidvania.
That's right, yes.
Yes. But yeah, very parry heavy, beautiful art style. But what made me so excited about this particular time of playing the game is, just truth be told, the first couple hours I played this game, the first time I ever fired it up, I was just getting destroyed. I would be at one save point, and I would play through and fight the enemies. And by the time I got to a point where I was even looking for another save point, I'd have to return to the previous one just to survive. I was getting destroyed. But this particular time when I was traveling, I'm playing it on my Steam Deck. I was playing it on an airplane. But I finally started to get the hang of the parry system. So now as the game is unfolding and I'm exploring more of the map and I'm more so understanding the combat and getting accustomed to it, I am going to love this game. I already am really, really enjoying it. But once it clicks for you, Nine Souls is awesome. It's a really interesting story with really, really cool map design. Again, if you are interested in Metroidvanias and you have not played Nine Souls, definitely play it. It is quite the challenge and an amazing, amazing game.
And I'm pretty sure it's available on like most consoles as well. You're probably playing it on Steam Deck at the moment?
I am.
Yes,
yeah, playing it on Steam Deck. But it's awesome. But Uno, as you had mentioned, or no, I'm sorry. One more game that is not a part of the 5-game cycle that I would like to showcase.
It's been a busy week. It's been a busy week, both of us.
It's been a busy week. And I know that we talked before briefly about the Omni movement in Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which is awesome. But again, one of my favorite, if not my favorite modes, very excited to try the campaign, but one of my favorite modes is the Zombies mode in Black Ops. And let me tell you, Uno, Black Ops 6 Zombies is so much fun. So much fun. I got the chance to stream for only a couple hours the Zombies mode in Black Ops 6, and it's incredible. Again, you're going back to the traditional round system, which is super, super fun. But the maps are so cool. Specifically, there were two maps that I played: Liberty Falls and Terminus. And Terminus is more of like a prison on an island, almost, it feels like. But Liberty Falls is like a rundown zombie apocalypse town with gas stations and buildings and all these different places that you can go. And I loved that map. I also did the best on that one. But again, you've got everything. You've got the gumball machines. You've got the Pack-a-Punch, the Juggernog, all the cool weapons, the mystery box, everything that Zombies is known for, and it's all on display. But it's super, super fun. Again, very, very challenging.
Does it also include all the strafing, the new side directional stuff within it
does.
Too? All right.
Does.
Okay,
yep.
cool.
You have all the Omni movement. Again, tons of different enemies, tons of different zombies. Incredibly challenging. But again, the map design is so well done. Liberty Falls has been my favorite. Okay. I'm curious to see what everyone who's listening, if you've played Black Ops 6, if you like Liberty Falls or Terminus better, because I see the pros and cons to both. But both maps are an absolute blast. And then as far as the 5-game cycle, like I had mentioned, I got the chance to jump into some more Paper Mario, the 1,000-Year Door, which again, this is my first playthrough of this game, which many regard as their favorite Paper Mario game. Dude, Uno, it's so charming.
It's like the writing is incredible in that game.
It's so good, man. Oh God, the characters are amazing. They're interesting. They're all different, and like you said, the writing is just impeccable. It's really, really cool. I love all the different abilities that you end up unlocking, so you can access different badges or items or areas. And again, I'm having such a great time playing it. It really does feel like they took the original Paper Mario on the Nintendo 64 and just turned the dial up to 10. There's just so many more things you can do and so many cool characters. But I'm having a blast with that. I can't wait to finish it. I think very well this could turn into my favorite Paper Mario game by the time I'm finished. Super, super fun. And once again, I am also playing Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. Scholar of the First Sin is different than the original Dark Souls 2, not only because it includes both or all DLCs for Dark Souls 2, but they've changed some enemy placement and some item placement and things like that.
Oh, I didn't know that it had actual adjustments in it.
Yeah, real adjustments. Like the original game is different, and people actually go back and forth. Some people like the original Dark Souls 2 better than Scholar, and some people like Scholar better than the original. Okay. But I've always just played Scholar of the First Sin. But again, I currently went through and finished a Huntsman's area, which is really, really cool. It's this forest area with a bunch of cool enemies. It's actually an optional area, but I finally got to beat one of the bosses in that area, which is just this giant horde of skeletons, Uno. So again, crowd control is incredibly important in Dark Souls 2. There are so many situations and moments where you were getting attacked by 5, 6, 8, 10 enemies at one time. And this skeleton boss is no different. So as long as you're able to control the enemies, then you're okay. I've been using a +6 bastard sword at the moment. That's been really, really getting me through the game.
Does it have like one character that has all of the health and all of it is supported, kind of like Mom in like Bloodborne? Or is it literally the wave of skeletons is the health bar?
Yeah, so actually every single enemy is a part of the health bar. Okay. There are some skeletons that cast magic. There are some normal skeletons. There are some of those, those skeletons who are like on the wheel.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, those enemies are brutal. There's those skeletons. There's bigger skeletons. But everything is this giant shared health bar, actually. But very excited to be able to beat that boss. Again, the boss room is so cool. It's just covered in bones. It looks really, really awesome. But next up, as I continue through Dark Souls 2, I'm going through the classic Poison Swamp area.
Nobody likes those.
No one likes those, dude. And then just a couple more. Like I said, I did play a lot this week, but it was a great week. Anytime I get to play a lot of video games, it's exciting. But also got to continue further in Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, the incredible Metroidvania from Ubisoft. And I'll be honest, is returning to the 5-game cycle. First of all, playing 5 games at one time on stream can always be a little bit challenging.
Yes.
just kind of getting reacclimated to every game. But it had been such a long time because I had invested so much time into the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC with Elden Ring, and then jumped right into Black Myth Wukong. So I was the most intimidated to jump back into Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Not only because it's a very intricate Metroidvania, but because the combat is also very intricate, like remembering all the moves and all the special abilities that you can use. But I was very happy. I actually made really, really good progress within the Lost Crown, which was nice. I got this brand new ability, which is really cool, which gives me access to all these platforms I couldn't previously utilize. But I will say, not only is the combat really cool, not only is the voice acting great, the story, it's an amazing Metroidvania, but oh my goodness, the platforming is incredible in this game. There was one section, I thought of you right away, where you have to like, it's so hard to explain, but you have 3 chances with 3 different characters. It's like on a timer, let's say for 10 seconds.
Okay.
And you'll take your first character and you'll run and you make sure you stay on a certain like button to keep a door open.
Okay.
And then your second guy, your first guy will go, the shadow of that will go and open that area. Then the second guy goes up and will pull something else down. To then your third and final attempt, you have to get to this scroll or this item that you're looking for. It's really cool, man. So again, I love Metroidvanias. Between Nine Souls and Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, 2 amazing games that you should definitely check out. But last but not least, I finally was able to jump into some Silent Hill 2 remake.
Yes, we can both start talking about it now.
Yes. And I know I've been rambling for a little while, but yeah, Silent Hill 2 remake. Oh my God, man. They had such I don't want to say an uphill battle, but I want to say a challenge, because Silent Hill 2 is regarded as one of, if not the greatest psychological horror games of all time.
Yeah, and if we're talking about like the early parts of it being announced, people were fairly negative that it was being remade because they thought it could never be up to par to what the originals were made.
Yes, exactly. But I will say, being about 4 or 5 hours in, my God, what a great game.
Yes.
It builds tension the same way that the original Silent Hill 2 did. I know the voice acting is a little different, and there's a debate with a lot of people saying that the Silent Hill 2 OG voice acting was very strange and very over the top. And a lot of people believe that was by design, based on the story and where the story is going. Whereas this voice acting is much more serious and much more realistic. I enjoy both aspects, so that didn't bother me as much. But as far as tension building and enemy design, and every corner I turn, I'm just waiting. I should be wearing a heart rate monitor while playing this game because it's so good. But Udo, you said you also jumped into some Silent Hill 2 remake, so I'm curious what you think about it.
Yeah, I'm only a few more hours past from where I was last time, so I just got through the apartment complex. That's the first time you see...
I'm there right now.
Okay, so that's like the first time it's a terrifying game, and a lot of it is like stress about what's coming up. You know, you can see things in the distance, you hear noises.
Yes.
A lot of it is like fog, and it's building this ambiance. I think the apartment complex is the first time where it's like, hey, it's no longer about suspense. Now you just have to face all of the enemies in every room you attend to. So like, you're running through hallways, you've got crawlers, you've got the 2 pairs of legs that are like centered on top of each other. Which, by the way, those things, I don't know why. Every other character I'm not really like creeped out by, but like 2 pairs of legs on top of 2 pairs of legs, it gives me like weird goosebumps every time I see them.
Every time.
And they're always well hidden in the world. Like they make it so that they're obviously 2 pairs of legs on top of 2 pairs of legs, but they'll put it like in like the crease of a wall, so you just think it's like part of a broken wall, but it's not actually that. It's a pair of legs. They'll put it in like in a closet where you see all the clothing at width length, so you just assume it's a pair of legs underneath, but then they pop out. They're really very smart about where they put their enemy placement for the scares. There's a lot of enemies that are just kind of perusing around the city. But once you're like in buildings, they maximize their positioning for sure.
They do. And Uno, very quickly on that. First of all, the radio tension of walking into a room and not seeing an enemy immediately, but knowing there's one in the room, and then it either just being a bug or, like you had said, legs hiding. I don't know if you noticed this, but the creepy thing too about the legs hiding, like in a corner or in the closet, if you look at them and don't attack them for long enough, they just start attacking you.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
They're trying to stay hidden, but when you keep the flashlight on for an extended amount of time, they go, "Oh shoot, he sees me," and then they chase after you.
I've also been like freaked out about like walking into a room and not seeing an enemy. I think the bugs might be the things that scare me the most, because most of the time I'm like, where the hell is it? And I'm like spinning in circles, completely ignoring the fact that it's probably at my feet. And I'm just looking for these large enemies. I've had many scares where I thought like a big enemy was about to kill me. I'm on like the brink of my health, and it just happens to be like a little bugs that you squash. Great puzzle game, honestly, too. Like, there's some really difficult puzzles within that apartment. And it's the first time you see Pyramid Head. There's a part where they show Pyramid Head that I don't remember from Silent Hill 2, and I'm not sure if that is the case. Like, you get into the original hallway and you see it behind a gate before you see it like in a stairwell. I always remember the original game, although I haven't played it a ton of times. I played through the first half maybe 3 times. I always imagine the first time you see Pyramid Head was in the staircase that you fight it. But in this game, it seems they tease him a little earlier. Overall, pretty creepy game. It's incredible what they've gotten done, because it's a very high bar that they need to meet, and it feels like this feels like the perfect way of playing this game now. It's kind of like RE2 Remake, where I think I'm content not going back to the old one, because it feels remotely the same, although much better mechanics. The fog is incredible in this game too.
So good.
I've been playing on a laptop, and eventually found I got back home to Canada, was able to play it on my computer for a short period of time for the last 2 hours, and it has looked incredible when you bump up all of the graphic settings for sure.
It does. It looks so good. And Uno, I have one more question for you in regards to this game, because for me personally, I am using health drinks left and right.
Oh yeah,
I am
me
still
too.
Very much adjusting to the combat. So I'm curious but don't get me wrong, there's sometimes I've gotten in flow states with like those starter enemies, where I'm able to dodge from the vomit or whatever. But the legs I've still not figured out. Like I end up having to heal every time I encounter one. But I did just get the handgun, which has helped a ton. So curious how the combat is for you.
Combat has been more difficult than I remembered. The original enemies, I thought I figured out their pattern, which is like I hit twice, and then the next time they're likely going to attack me. So I start like juking and dodging. But like the legs, I don't know their pattern. I'm not quite sure I understand. I try to do one, and then I just try to like wait for an attack most of the time. But truthfully, I'm like you. I feel like I'm on the very edge of dying every time I get to a save room. Which is the sign of a good survival game. I also am refusing to use my handgun unless I really need it. So I'm a little further than you are. I also, I believe, had the shotgun at this point, or a different gun at some point too.
Nice.
I try not to use them, mainly because I know I only have found like 6 bullets, and I don't know what I'm likely to I'm likely to fight a thing that I will need those 6 bullets at. So I try to mostly use the melee weapon. Great game. I guarantee you I'll finish this by the end of the year for sure.
Me too.
That's all the games you've been playing on stream and off screen, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I wish I had more to talk about, but plenty to talk about this week. But I know you've been playing Silent Hill 2 Remake. Is there anything else, Uno, that you jumped into this week?
I've played a lot of stuff. So much like you, this was a big, busy week for me. But somehow I fit in so many video games. Since we're on the horror trend, Halloween just happened. Part of why I was playing Silent Hill 2 was because of Halloween this week. I did my haunted houses. I watched a ton of horror movies, but then I was like, okay, I got to play some horror games. Last week I talked about one. I believe it was called Mouth Washing. This week I played
The Blumhouse one, right?
Yes, the Blumhouse one. So Blumhouse, they make all kinds of movies. They made Black Phone. They made Freaky. They made a ton of other stuff. Well, they're now in they're now publishing video games. They're going to be making video games and publishing horror video games. Their first one is this Spotlight game. I'm just looking it up right now. I have my PlayStation open right now. It is called Fear the Spotlight. There it is. You might have heard my PlayStation turn on right there. It's called Fear the Spotlight, and essentially it's like a PS1 era polygonal third-person game where you are two girls who break into a school to find a Ouija board. And so as you're walking through this school, at first it's like ambiance and pretty creepy. You get the Ouija board, and then it turns from there, obviously. I don't want to get too into it because it is a horror game, and I don't want to spoil it. But very good. Honestly, from what I've played, if this is what Blumhouse is going to do, very good voice acting to a level that doesn't feel like a lesser video game. It feels like they took an audio podcast recording of a horror thing and then they made a video game around it. So it really feels like really strong leads for the actors. And the story's been super interesting. I've actually been fascinated with the world building they've done. They build up around this school, about the two girls' relationship, but then also about a previous fire that happened at the school. So you're getting all kinds of like lore dumps as you're playing it. It's structured kind of like the PS1 era horror games, like Resident Evil 2. So I'm maybe 7 hours into this, and you play one run, and when you complete that run, you now play as the secondary character, and you get to see a completely different side of the story. It's very neat. There's a lot of stealth points where stealth is by far my worst feat when it comes to video games. Never good at stealth, but there's a decent amount of stealth in here, and it is pretty manageable for me. And other than that, there's some interesting puzzles, but very like Resident Evil style puzzles where you get to a room and like it's a statue with its hands held out, and you have to find an object to put in those hands to open a door, which would never happen in a real school. But for some reason in video games, all these doors have the most contrived mechanisms. And another thing I like about this game too is within the lore, when you're finding notes about previous lore, it'll also kind of try to contextualize why there's these crazy gates. They'll be like, hey, people keep breaking into this room, so we install this high intensity, high caliber lock on it, but the lock is like, you have to find 3 medallions to lock it in, to spin it around, that kind of stuff. It's like with RE2, how they say the police station used to be an art museum. Exactly,
and that was the excuse for I got you. That's cool. Yeah,
and that's like another way that they contextualize things and make it make sense. Because video game logic, it can't just be like a door with although there is a pick locking mechanism in this too, where there are normal doors as well. Anyways, well worth your time if you are into horror games. This is a very cheap one too. I think it's only $20, and I'm about 7 hours in. I think I'm about to finish the second run, and I don't know if there's more. I'm hoping there is, because I'm not exactly finished playing it. Like, I feel like there's more meat on the bone, and I definitely want to play more of it. Other stuff I've been playing. So this week, I talked about it ad nauseum before, but I've been playing so much Vampire Survivor on my mobile phone, and as if by happenstance, they announced last week that there's a new DLC coming out this week for Castlevania. They had a Contra integration. This week they finally get to reveal their Castlevania one. It came out on Halloween Day. So I've been playing that on mobile, and then I realized that on mobile, while fun, I feel like I'm not getting the full experience. So after already buying all of the DLC and stuff on mobile and buying all the DLC on my laptop, I decided I'm going to buy it all on PlayStation again. So this is the third time I've bought everything for Vampire Survivors, and I've been starting a fresh save on my PlayStation, and it's incredible. It's the equivalent. I mean, look, I've never done crack. I don't know what it's like. But if there is a video game crack, this has to be it. It is so addictive. Even earlier today, I woke up and my first thought was like, I want to get back into this Castlevania map. I believe there's 20 Castlevania characters, a lot of the Belmonts.
Oh, wow.
A lot of new weapons, new maps, new ways to adjust the video game so that it's not just the base Vampire Survivors. There's a part within the Vampire Survivors map for Castlevania where instead of just being like a 360 shooter or idle game the way it is now, you get into a castle and then suddenly it becomes a 2D platformer where you get to jump and stuff. So it changes the entire mechanisms of the games on occasion for certain boss fights, because there are boss fights within this too. Very good. If you're into Vampire Survivors, I don't think you need any push to get the new DLC. It's $4. And for $4, you can get another 30 hours plus of Vampire Survivors. So well worth your time. And then,
it is so good, Uno. Thanks to you. Please. I have it downloaded on my Steam Deck. Vampire Survivors is unbelievable.
Yes.
Really great.
And if you can, try that DLC. It is very, very fun. Also, the Contra one, which I hadn't played before, as well as the Among Us one. I jumped into those this week. Those are very good, too. They have great maps that they created for it as well. And then finally, in preparation, because it is the end of my Fortnite season. If you do not know, I'm a big Fortnite guy. I wasn't last year, but I got real addicted recently. The previous season of Fortnite ended just this week, and every time a season ends, they have an interstitial event to launch the next season. And so most of the time you don't know what it is. Sometimes it's like they had a Metallica event where they had a CGI Metallica concert that you would like also race through and watch them play live, but also like play some of the mechanisms that they added to the new feature. And so I played the end of the season, try to get all of my battle pass stuff before it switches over because I'm a subscriber. And then there's a countdown. So I played for the last few hours, and when the countdown finally came in, it pops me into this lobby room, and I'm expecting a new, like, they're going to show me a new visual video of how the next season is played out, and maybe I finally get to play the map. Not the case. What happens instead is I'm in this lobby, and they showcase a video of, like, this fairy going into, like, one of their warp portals. And when it does, it goes into real-life footage live from Times Square, and this is kind of insane. Fortnite bought every banner ad, every video wall that is in Times Square. They bought every single one of it to change it strictly for Fortnite stuff. And they somehow, in the middle of a building, I guess there's a square that faces the outside that is just hollow, and they put artists there to play a live concert in front of everyone at Times Square while they filmed this in drone shot. And I'm watching this within the Fortnite video game.
Unreal.
So they put Ice Spice for one song. I don't know anything about Ice Spice. I actually had to ask you who that was. She played a song, and then Snoop Dogg played 4 songs. This was all live in front of Times Square, all in conjunction to announce the new season that has Ice Spice in it. Snoop Dogg, Eminem is in it, as well as other skins. They have the addition of boats in this one. I haven't played it quite yet, but I will be streaming it this week. You will see me on Twitch. I'm finally back.
Yes.
But they added new grapple hook mechanics. They added a new feature where now the craze in real life where everyone is wearing dope ass running shoes. Yeah. They added a new feature called Kicks to Fortnite, so now they have like Nike shoes that you can buy for every character. So now people are going to start collecting shoes on top of their Batman figures. New boats, new ways of transportation, a brand new map, a whole new season, and that starts this week. So not a video game per se, but the fact that I watched a whole hour Snoop Dogg concert strictly because I wanted to play more Fortnite just shows you I'm still deep into Fortnite, and I will be playing more of that this week for sure.
What a monster Fortnite is still to this day. But like, it's so amazing and unbelievable how they've constantly been adding and adjusting and keeping the game so fresh and so exciting. That sounds incredible. What a showcase for that.
And honestly, like, just monetarily,
yeah.
How do you pay for the entirety of New York City downtown to play one ad while you're doing a concert? You're closing off a whole city. Imagine, those billboard ads. You have ads for all kinds of insane. You've got Versace up there. You've got PlayStation. You've got like Eminem. You've got all kinds of brands are paying for that. And then suddenly you're going to be like, hey, all of those brands, I don't care what they pay you, But for this next 30 minutes or hour, we're playing Snoop Dogg, and all those screens are showing Fortnite stuff. So there's got to be a lot of money involved in it. It only shows you that I don't think Fortnite is anywhere near dying. It's probably going to... That might be the game that lives on forever at this
Seriously.
point. There's so much money in play, and there's so many brands in play as well.
Right.
But that is it for the games we played this week. We played a lot this time. This was a big segment for sure.
It was a good week for episode 30. We played a lot.
We played a lot. We came in loaded with things to talk about. But that's not all we're going to talk about, because we have news from the week of October. That's the very last week of October. We got some big news, and we're going to be talking about it right after this. Hello, and we're back. We're back with some news. It's time for the news of the week here on All Elite Arcade. Before we get into that, a little thing. I want to start adding game announcements to this stuff, because we've been talking about it when it comes to trailers as part of large events, but we never talk about when the trailer drops on its own. So there's a few things I'd like to talk about. First of all, Red Dead Redemption and Undead Nightmare are coming to PC. I don't know if you haven't played those games. This might be the best way to do it. Getting it with full mod support, getting it with your fastest computer at the fastest speed with the best graphics, probably HDR. It also has enhancements, including native 4K resolution, 144 hertz on compatible hardware, monitor support up to ultra wide and super ultra wide. That's 32:9, which is that alone is insane. I can't imagine riding my horse and seeing that long of a landscape.
Oh, seriously, man.
Should be very cool. HDR10 support, adjustable draw distance, as well as shadow quality settings. All of that is on PC very, very soon. If not, it might have even launched, to be honest, this week. So go check that out.
Definitely.
Other stuff, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definite Edition has an announcement trailer. It will be coming out on Nintendo Switch on March 20th, 2025. Not a game that either of us has played, but I know it is a big one for the people out there. But one game I am super interested in, as they announced Death Note, Killer Within. This is like an Among Us deductive game, but involving the Death Note IP. Death Note is an anime where the goal of it is that you write in a book, and in that book, let's say you write the name of a person, that person dies within, I believe, a set amount of hours or days. And so they're using that mechanic within like Among Us mini game to do a deductive game. It looks very interesting, and then on top of that, it is available next month for free if you're a PS Plus subscriber. So do check that out. I know I will for sure.
Me too. Same here, Uno.
All right, some news of the week. We talked about Black Ops 6 last week. It came out. It's on Xbox. It's on Xbox Game Pass. It's on all the consoles. Well, great news. Black Ops 6 is massively outselling last year's Call of Duty game, even though it is on Game Pass. So it's either doing incredible or either last year was doing real bad, but it is doing better than anticipated. Microsoft CEO says that the launch was one of the biggest Call of Duty release ever. So if not the biggest, one of the biggest, setting a record for day one players as well as Game Pass subscribers add-on launch day. Unit sales on PlayStation and Steam were also up 60% over from last year. So an immense jump up.
Huge jump.
In the 3-day opening weekend, it was the number one total players for the entire series. The number of hours played, number one in the entire series, as well as the number of total matches in the series, the top one. So it is doing incredible, which is actually very cool to hear, because on top of that, we were unsure last week if people were just going to gravitate to Game Pass and they would lose a ton of revenue on top of it. Now it seems it's both. It is selling like crazy everywhere, and it is also growing Game Pass. So it's a huge success for Xbox as of yet.
A win-win across the board, seriously. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And before Black Ops 6, the previous high for U.S. daily active player engagement was Call of Duty HQs. That's the like remaster or remake of Call of Duty on the Xbox Series. 34% of daily actives on that day, while on PS5 on September 7th, it is 27% of daily actives. That is, so the numbers don't equate, but nowadays it is 90% of US active Xbox players were playing it, which is an immense number because of the growth of that platform over and over and over. But in layman terms, what it means is that this one is the most played ever in its opening weekend, and it is doing gangbusters.
Yeah. It's so great to hear, especially after messing around with Black Ops 6, which, again, I still haven't even jumped into the campaign yet. And that campaign was so critically acclaimed. But the multiplayer is excellent. Like I mentioned earlier in today's episode, the zombies mode is amazing if you're an OG Call of Duty Zombies fan. And again, I really do think a strong campaign that has a lot of people interested helps as well, because some people do only play Call of Duty for the campaigns. I know the multiplayer base is huge and the zombies base is huge, but it sounds like top to bottom, this game is crushing it, not just in content, but also sales-wise. This is great.
Yeah, so like for my sake, I'm mostly a single player video game player. And so I kind of skipped the last few Call of Duties because the ratings for they usually come out for the multiplayer and they come out for the campaign, and the campaign ones weren't very high. This one is doing incredible across the board. 9s almost everywhere. I remember IGN and I believe GameSpot gave it 9 out of 10 for the campaign, and the multiplayer also is getting incredible scores. So if you're looking for either of those, this is a highly rated one. So to me, for example, it made me want to play Call of Duty. And I am not on the casual side, but I'm more on the casual side when it comes to a Call of Duty game. So doing very, very well, and I'm sure it will keep doing well because Call of Duty is one of those games that sells all year round, and we're going into the holiday season. It should only do better, as well as they typically support them throughout the year with more maps and more stuff. So we're definitely going to be talking about Call of Duty through the rest of the year.
For sure.
Some more news. This one's on the mobile side. Actually, 2 news pieces that neither of us knew about, but very excited to talk about. Nintendo has just launched a new app exclusive to the Switch Online members called Nintendo Music. It's launched on Android and iOS, and you have to have a Switch Online membership to play it. So the user base for this is probably much smaller than just an app. But it's the equivalent of Spotify, but just for Nintendo game music. Which, look, this might be the app I want the most in the world. Dude. I never realized it until I read it today that's the thing I've been missing from Spotify. Is on Spotify, I wish all my gaming soundtracks were on there. Now I can get Nintendo soundtracks on an app. I'm in.
Uno, I have, I'm serious. I have over 2,000 video game tracks on Apple Music on my phone. And as you know, as we both know, we love video game music so much. So the idea, again, this is not even something I thought of, but now that it exists, like immediately when we're done filming this, I am downloading this app. I can't wait. Nintendo has such amazing video game music, so it's so cool they did this. So cool they did this.
And so you can make playlists. You can share those playlists. You can use them across your phone. But then, like, to give you an idea, here are some of the games that are in this. And this goes from NES all the way to Switch. So they have soundtracks from across the board. Nintendo Switch, they've got Platoon 3. They've got Animal Crossing, Kirby Stars Allies. They've got Mario Odyssey. They got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Breath of the Wild, Pikmin 4, Scarlet and Violet Pokemon, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. On Wii, they've got the Wii Channels music. They've got the Super Mario Galaxy. All of these, by the way, have like 80 plus tracks. So like, as you're hearing these titles, realize it's just not one song. We're talking about the entirety discography of these video games.
They got the Wii Shop Wednesday song?
That's our rules, especially now that the Wii Shop is down. Like, I want that back on there. They've got Nintendogs for DS. They've got GameCube songs like Metroid Prime's soundtrack. Super Nintendo, they've got Donkey Kong Country. They've got Yoshi's Island. And these are only at launch. They are preparing to launch more stuff later on. They've already said that in the future they'll have Wii Sports, Mario 64, Skyward Sword, Wind Waker, Diddy Kong Country 2, the best soundtrack of all time. F-Zero X.
Uno, very quickly, Forest Interlude from Donkey Kong Country 2 is my ringtone.
Yeah, it is my ringtone. Look, that freaking game has the best music. The minecart level stuff alone is insane. So that just shows you a thing that I didn't even know I wanted from Nintendo. They dropped it, and now, like, I'm telling you, after this, I'm going to Twitch stream, but I'm also simultaneously getting this app. I'm building my playlists because I am very excited to finally have an app where I can make my playlist out of music. I hope it will reach out to non-NES games too. I hope they get third-party support too, because I would love to, add in like Capcom music to this or Konami music to this. Anything that would really, really be interesting.
Uno, I hope this actually starts a trend where Xbox and PlayStation does the same thing.
Yeah,
seriously, because there are so many times I will get in the car and just hit shuffle and just listen to video game music. It's so good. So I love that Nintendo did this, and I hope this starts a trend with more video game music playlists in the future.
I hope so too. Time to give respect to the video game songs out there, because honestly, they should be on the Billboard Top 100 sometimes.
They really should. Yeah.
Another thing, so another Nintendo piece of news, another mobile app, this time from the people from Pokemon. The Pokemon trading card game Pocket has surpassed 10 million downloads in the first 48 hours. This is a trading card game that launched worldwide on mobile earlier this week. It took about 19 days for Pokemon Go to get about 50 million users. This in 3 days has gone 10 million users. So this could be their largest launch of a video game to be seen. It just happened this week. So the new digital version of the trading card game, it is the trading card game that you get in physical format, but there's now a digital version of it. The experience is said to be more casual, so you can play it more casually than you would with cards, which of course it's a lot easier to probably collect those cards. You'll receive you'll receive a free booster pack every day as part of the experience. You can collect cards and open booster packs within it. And I believe it is a battling game on top of a trading card game. So it should be very interesting. I will probably try this as well because I'm into deck building games. I don't like physical format card games because it's a lot of money out of your pocket over time. But digitally, I might very well be interested in playing this.
So this is another one, again, talking about the Nintendo Music app. This is another one that I definitely want to pick up. Again, I put a ton of time into Pokemon Go, and the Pokemon trading card game on mobile sounds awesome. Obviously, I have a history with Pokemon cards and loved collecting them when I was younger. So to get this trading card game on mobile and opening booster packs sounds really exciting to me. So yeah, I'll definitely be picking this up. This seems awesome.
Yeah, it seems really awesome. And on a very big week for Nintendo and mobile game. We never think about it because Nintendo has always done well with their hardware and their first party video games, but they've really done well when it comes to mobile platforming as well. Mario Run, the Pokemon Go games, they had that Animal Crossing one as well. All
Mario
of them
Kart.
Yes, exactly. All of them have sold incredible or have done incredible money. Like the cost of making that game per the money they've generated from it is insane. So it's another like entire spectrum of the Nintendo world that a lot of us are kind of ignorant to, but it is making an insane amount of money. This week is no different, obviously, with both of those coming out on both iOS and Android. That is it for this week. There are some little tidbits. Did you know that? Did you know Warcraft is 30 years old today?
Oh my God!
Yeah,
really?
Half-Life
30 years.
I know Half-Life 2 is 20 years old. Dragon Age Inquisition is 10 years old as of this month. So we're just moving forward. There are some little tidbits, stories, but let us know if you have news stories down below. YouTube.com/AWGames. That is our video platform. Go in our comments. Let us know if we missed any news of your own. And also, let us know what's going to be on your Nintendo Music playlist, because I guarantee you all that Donkey Kong stuff's going on there. And I might share my public list eventually this week, because
that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea, especially now that I can finally showcase just the video game format stuff and you don't have to question my weird tastes in normal music. I will probably finally share it out to the masses. Do follow us on all social media, AW Games. I'm sure you'll find it in the future as well. It's finally time, Chugs. It's time for that third segment, the community mailbag, our very favorite segment, and it comes right after this. Welcome back. It's that time. It's time for the community mailbag. It's time for our favorite segment, the All Elite Arcade Mailbag, brought to you by Upper Deck. Thank you, Upper Deck, for supporting us in our future endeavor. As well, get closer to the ring than ever before. Unwrap your favorite AEW wrestling trading cards and build your collection today. There you go, Chugs.
And look at this bad boy, Uno. Little Adam Cole baby up front.
I know. We've got Statlander. We've got Sting. Oh,
Sting.
Great pull. It's Sting.
Great pull.
RJ
so
City
cool
still doesn't have a
here.
graphic, but he's got a card. Visit upperdeck.com to learn more, and you can get yourself some of those beautiful AEW cards as well as other trading cards.
Yeah,
right
these are so
now.
cool. So
thank you, Upper Deck. We've got 4 questions today. It's actually this might be the most questions we've ever read. Big week on questions. If you want your questions read, you can go to tbs.com/arcade mailbag. If you're a US listener, send us your questions and we will answer them on a future episode of All Elite Arcade. We have 4 questions. The first one's from Frederick. Frederick says, "Hey, Uno and Chugs, this question is for both of you, of course, but I'd love to know Uno's answer to this as the man of many masks. What is your favorite mask in video games?" Okay.
Ooh,
I
question.
listed 2, but I'd be very curious if you have one formed. If you don't, I'll jump right in.
I do actually.
Okay, please.
So again, instantly my brain went to one of the most well-known masks in video games, that being Majora's Mask. It's literally in the title. But I was thinking about this question. I do have a favorite, and it is Aku Aku from Crash Bandicoot.
Ooh, yeah.
I love that character. I love when you hit the box and you get Aku Aku and he goes just like that every time. He's an amazing character. He's part of the charm and the excitement of Crash Bandicoot. Again, I love Crash Bandicoot so much. I have so many fond memories of playing that on the original PlayStation, as well as Crash Bandicoot 4 It's About Time, which is also a
very good,
amazing game too.
Yeah, seriously, I only played that in the last year and was pleasantly surprised. I was kind of surprised that no one was really actively talking about it when it came out.
Yeah, it was a big bummer for me because, again, I love Crash Bandicoot, but 2, it's an excellent game. Crash Bandicoot 4 is really, really good. But probably, again, to me, when thinking of my most favorite masks in gaming, I'm going to go with Aku Aku from Crash Bandicoot.
Heck yeah.
What about you, Uno?
I thought initially it was like Majora's Mask is a super obvious one. I won't say it. So I'm glad we both thought the same thing. But my first thought was like, okay, what are pro wrestlers within video games? And the first 2, and I think honestly, I like them simplistic, so both of these I think are incredible. Q from Street Fighter Third Strike, he is the one that wears the trench coat. He's got like a little detective hat. Yes. He's got like a gray mask with just little holes and 3 stripes, but I don't know what about it. It's very simplistic. He looks like a total badass, and he was also my character of choice in Third Strike. So shout out to Q. And then secondly, this is one of my like, I wouldn't say a hidden gem because I think a lot of people have played this game, but I love Killer 7. It was a GameCube game. It's like an on-rails shooters.
Yes.
But also it just features Suda51's like weird like knack at just like taking all kinds of like ideas and throwing them in a video game, and they might not entirely work together, but somehow the clash is part of his style. And so he has a big love for video games, and he has a big love for pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is involved in most of his video games, and in this one of the 7 personalities your killer can turn into is Mask the Smith, who's a large pro wrestler in a suit with a cape, and he has like a beautiful white and purple mask, which I have at one point had a mask similar to his in tribute. 2 of my favorite masks in video games for sure. And I'm sure there's quite a few more. So if you know of any more, go to youtube.com/AWGames and let us know in the comments down below what we might have missed as favorite masks. Yeah. But thank you, Frederick. An incredible question.
Yes, thank you, Frederick. And up next, we have a question from Danny. Hey, Chugs. Hey, Uno. Hey, Danny. Big fan of your work both in the ring and on the podcast/streams. Thank you. As a big fan of roguelikes and lights, I was surprised to see how well a game like Balatro takes traditional card games and transforms it into a completely new and engaging experience. What are some games you would like to see get the roguelike/light treatment, either by the official developer or fan-made project? A good example is the Paper Mario mod, Paper Mario Black Pit, Much love and can't wait to hear your thoughts. Great question, Danny. Uno, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, so I'm actually thinking of like IPs that could use it. I think so. My first one that I could think of is Zelda. And mainly that's because Zelda has done so many different types of games and been capable of doing it. They did Cadence of Hyrule, which was like that time-based rhythm game, and I thought that game ruled. Like it was very different from what they usually do as far as third-person action, and I thought it was incredible. I also like their Hyrule Warriors stuff, where it was one of those like Dynasty Warriors style games, and I feel like Zelda could definitely do a roguelike and also make it very heavy on Zelda lore in a way that could make sense. You know, there's a lot of time-based stuff within Zelda that could explain why you would die and restart from scratch. You know, you have access to all of those masks from Majora's Mask. You have so many different things that have already been established within the Zelda universe that I think that could really... it could be a very fleshed out game and also very interesting. And then secondly, another Nintendo property I think that could do that is Metroid. Metroid has all these established weapons, has all this established alien world, has all these enemies, and it is a lot of it is, you know, attacking an enemy, shooting it from afar, using the whip and stuff. So that could be structured in a way that when you restart it, you're in a new alien morphing world and essentially tackle it differently every time, but every time you have different loadout of weapons and different effects. I think those two would really jive well with the roguelike type of game.
Yeah, I agree. I think both of those would fit so well. And I maybe have a little bit of an out there answer, and maybe it's because we're still coming off of Halloween, and I'm still very much in spooky season. But man, hear me out. I think a Resident Evil roguelike or roguelite would be awesome, because imagining how massive Raccoon City is, the idea of having like a starting base and not knowing what type of enemies you're going to encounter. But maybe on your first run, you're able to get a shotgun that you can start with next time, but you encountered too many enemies, or Nemesis can randomly show up, or Mr. X or a liquor. Like, I feel like a giant Raccoon City map of like a roguelite or roguelike with Resident Evil could be so fun, exploring the city, going into different, maybe you can go into the police station on one run, but maybe the next run you go the opposite way where you explore further into the city. I don't know. I think a Resident Evil roguelike would be so much fun. Plus,
they have so many established starting characters too. You could have different loadouts with all 6 characters that you start with.
Different bonuses.
That's a great idea, honestly. Capcom, if you're out there, take advantage of this. Make a roguelike. You'll hit both of our markets. So both of us will play it for sure. So
guaranteed day one players. Guaranteed.
That's right. At least 2. There's got to be more out there.
There's got to be. If you agree, let us know down in the comments. But Danny, again, thank you very much for the question. Great question. I love these because it really gets us thinking. So Danny, thank you very much.
Question number 2 is from Bingo Clamshell. Guaranteed not their real name, but you know what? Great name anyways.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope your parents called you Bingo. I just recently paid a lot of money for what is just basically a Legacy of Kain graphic novel on Kickstarter because I love the franchise. What game series / franchise would you pay more than a normal video game price to come back if you could? I paid, so it's funny because Kickstarter is what that is, right? You pay ahead of time for a franchise to essentially be developed. Psychonauts 2 was actually a game that was kickstarted. It was through a different platform than Kickstarter, but it was like Fig, I think it was called. And so 6 years before the launch of the game, I paid full price for that video game, knowing that eventually I would get that game. Like my $60 made sure Psychonauts 2 was coming out. So I've done that before, but nowadays, if I were to put money into one, I love Earthbound. I love the Mother games. I love Mother 3 on DS. Mother 4 has been like a legendary sequel that everyone thinks is going to come out someday, and I will give you $100, Nintendo, right now for just the possibility of getting to play it within the next 3 years. So I think that's my franchise I would definitely throw money at to make any new game.
Earthbound is like the perfect choice. But if I were to pick something different There is a game on the PlayStation 1 that I think I've discussed before, but seriously, it's one of my favorite games that I played on the original PlayStation 1. If we somehow got a return of Brave Fencer Musashi, that would make me so excited. I put hours and hours into that game. It's a very, very fun, like almost top-down RPG style game with, again, amazing characters. There's so many different bosses, so many different like mini game style bosses. I just think the game has so much charm, and imagining in 2024 them like bringing Brave Fencer Musashi back, even still with those like old school graphics, I think would be so cool. So I'm gonna go with Brave Fencer Musashi. I love that game.
The climate of video games nowadays, you can have a game that looks exactly like that and it will still do well. Like I said, I played Fear the Spotlight that just feels like a PS1 game, and it didn't feel wrong to play a game that felt older, you know. I think in current day, we give us the sequels we want. That's what I'm getting.
Please.
Thank you for your question, Bingo.
And I know we talk about it all the time, but quickly again, we just live in the coolest time with all the new IPs, the remakes. It's easier than ever to play these old retro games. It's just what a time! What a time!
You can play video games in any format, video on your computer, on your mobile, at home, on the go. I just can't wait. Honestly, I'm super excited for this podcast to end, strictly because I'm going to play more video games afterwards.
Okay, so last question from Elias. Hey guys, congrats on over 6 months of the podcast. Thank you, Elias. If you could have the abilities and powers of any video game character, what character would you choose? I know mine.
Please, if you can.
Of course, is Geralt of Rivia, the Witcher himself. He can do magic. He's amazing with swords. He can drink potions that make him do really cool stuff. Geralt of Rivia is the man. I think
ton of sex appeal, just
just
long luscious hair.
Yeah, right.
This seems like a cop-out answer, but that's because I've been playing so much Vampire Survivor. But within that, there's a character that has the power of lightning, and in his first 3 rounds, if you don't move, lightning kills everything around you. Like almost nothing can get to you. And I feel like if I wanted to be all powerful and never like be questioned about it, I would want to have that power and just walk around and just lightning strikes all of my enemies. Not that I have many, but I mean, if we're gonna be all powerful, that's a hell of a way to do it.
Right. Just for protection.
That's right. I'm a nice guy. Don't worry about it. I'm a nice guy. Elias, thank you so much for that question. Very good. If you want your questions answered, you can tbs.com/arcade mailbag. Send us your questions. We will answer them next week on the Arcade Mailbag, brought to you by Upper Deck. Thank you, Upper Deck, once again.
Yes. Thank you.
Chugs, we're both on Twitch this week. I'm going to be on twitch.tv/eviludo. You can find our Mystery Wrestling show at mysterywrestling.com, but I will be back to streaming video games. I'm going to be playing some Fortnite, and I also want to play that new Lake House DLC for Alan Wake. I'll probably be talking about that very soon as well. I just saw that Astrobot released some levels for speedrunning. I'm going to get back on that for sure. What can they see on your Twitch this week?
So you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thechugs. I think this week I'm going to be able to play a fair amount, which is awesome. But again, going through The Witcher 3, Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, Dark Souls 2, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, and the original Silent Hill 2. So if you want to come and hang out and any of those games seem interesting, please come and hang out. It's twitch.tv/thechugs.
Hell yeah. Well, that is it for this week's All Elite Arcade. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that follow button, be it on our YouTube, youtube.com/AEW Games, or all of the podcasting platforms that you have out there. We're available on all of them. Listen to us every Monday at noon Eastern Standard Time, or Monday morning if you have the podcast followed and subscribed. We will see you next Monday for another episode. Bye-bye.